We'll move on now to child protection. And again, I want to say that online protection of children has become very, very critical. So let's look at those issues. When we talk about protection, if we look at a country like India, what happens? We say we are constantly looking at poverty, malnutrition, and lack of services and so on. So another approach to understanding protection is to look at what are some of the guidelines in wealthy countries for children's welfare and protection. What are these countries saying about their own children? Let's look at that. Yeah. And then let's look at our own situation. Compare, not compare, but use them as maybe a guideline. Okay. So what are they saying? How are children protected in a society? How do we know? What are the indicators here? What are the indicators for child protection in our own society? They are saying one is good mental health. That means children are well adjusted. They have high emotional quotient, emotional IQ. They are well adjusted. If they fail, they don't go and jump off the bridge or start smoking or taking drugs, but they're able to adjust to that failure, understand, and move on. Okay, resilience. So very important for children, for their protection. They should be having, they are well adjusted, having high emotional quotient, and they are able to move on when there is failure. Okay, mental health. And there are no addictions. They've not become alcoholics, and they have not started abusing drugs or substance abuse and so on, or gambling. So these are indicators of good mental health in a society of children. Yeah. Then good physical health. Yeah, health indicators. We all know what the health indicators are. Are they getting enough vaccinations? Are they, moving according to their milestones? Are they developing physically? Yeah. Then skills for life. What are the skills that children have in a society? How can we say that they are protected by the government, by the bigger society, by the community? One is reading, writing skills. Do they have enough reading, writing skills? Then second is, do they have proper social skills? That means, do they have friends, good friends? Do they have good relationship with their teachers, with their family members? Yeah, with the trees, with the pets? What kind of relationship do they have? When okay, these are some of the things we have to look at the at our level, at our national level, when we see child protection. Okay. Then when do children feel unprotected? When bullying, yeah, children are getting bullied constantly by elders, other children, etc. Then parents don't have help, enough help. That means monetarily, there's poverty at home, or they're not able to leave the children in daycare. That is when children feel very, very unprotected. Yeah. And when they go to school, they don't have enough facilities in the school. That is when they feel unprotected. And yeah, so what can we do about these problems, and how can we protect children? Number one is, do we all understand what children's participation is about? No? That is number one. Then we have to also focus on three aspects. We look at child protection from a global perspective, which we just did, then from the national perspective, and from a local perspective. So we have to understand, first of all, when we talk about child protection, what are the abuses taking place in our culture at the local level? What are some of the abuses, or what is the violence that is taking place against children at our local level? You have to understand that and explain to the children. This is where, when we talk about child protection and the Children's Parliament, we are looking at children's participation. Unfortunately, this is a one-way traffic. I'm not able to converse, dialogue with y'all, so I don't know what y'all are thinking or perceiving, whatever. But coming to children's participation, there was a famous thinker called Levitt, and he said that there are 7 steps. First 3 steps he said was pseudo participation. That means when we have a function in our organization, we make the children stand at the gate with the garland and all, and with the aarti tatte, and then when the guest comes, we do the sing whatever, and we say our children are participating. So this is called pseudo participation. This is not really participation. Then the next 3 levels are medium level participation. That means we dictate to the children and the children do something and we say children are participating. But then he said the final level was where we respect children and say, I feel you have the ability to make decisions. I welcome you to take decisions. Allowing children to run their own meetings, to write their minutes, wherever they need, you facilitate the process. That is true participation. Now, when we look at child protection and children's participation, what are we doing? We are consulting children about their protection, linking it again to our children's parliament. Every time I have gone into the villages or even in urban settings, and what I do with children is give them a body map picture. That means, quickly draw it for you. Uh, okay. Yeah, can you see this? So, what we do with children is we ask them, we give them a picture like this and say, now think of your animator or your teacher. What kind of qualities do you want in this person? So we say, write some of your points about what kind of thinking this person should have, what kind of hands should he have, what kind of a heart should he have, she have. Yeah. So these are questions we ask children, and we also ask them, what parts of the village or what parts of your school do you feel very unprotected, and what can be done about it? And you'll be amazed that these parliamentarians come up with some of the most beautiful solutions to issues of protection. So these are some of the exercises where children also participate. You can also make them draw the problem tree and say what are some of the problems and what are the solutions in the tree. So these are some of the activities, or again even dramas, having little skits about certain issues, like whether it is child abuse, sexual abuse, or child marriage. The children come out with beautiful dramas and stories, and they can present it. This way they learn faster and they become their own agents for change and for protection. Okay. Yeah. uh, we talked, okay, local level, again, like I said, each culture has their own systems of violence and abuse. For example, in Orissa, they say that beating is not violence, but they say not giving food is violence. You see, I mean, these are differences in cultural understanding of violence. Yeah. So at a local level, we have to talk to parents, teachers about abuse and the rights of the children, and zero tolerance for any kind of violence or abuse. This must be made very clear. So you have a cultural hurdle to cross, okay, and then reach out to people when you talk about child protection. So again, linking this to your children's parliament and the parliamentarians and ministers, what can we do about this? Again, talk to them about superstition, talk to them about science, talk to them about thinking. Yeah. And protection means zero tolerance of any kind of violence, abuse. Okay, so when this is explained to them, they become, really alert and smart, and you don't have to worry too much about, how will they protect themselves, what is going to happen to them, etc. Okay, what are the do's and don'ts for animators? Huh? What are the do's and don'ts for animators? So it's important that children are protected first of all from our own staff. Yeah. Uh, so for staff, again, now I'm thinking about gender equality. So animators have to be very sensitive not to, crack these jokes about girls and boys, and if they're really funny slapstick, that's another story. But otherwise, deliberate, teasing kind of things. So in child protection, when you're making a child protection policy, the first thing is do's and don'ts for animators, huh? Then the managers, then all these, the staff. If you're running a hostel program or a school, what are the duties for the do's and don'ts for the cooks, the drivers, yeah, and also parents, yeah, and yeah. So some of these things, then they have to all go in your policy. What are your policy decisions? Then having a good HR system, no? That means every organization, and especially if you're going to have children's parliaments, then you must have a set of very good systems within the organization. How is your HR? Do you have a anti-sexual harassment policy, the POSH policy? Is it in place? No? So all these questions you have to ask yourself before having your own child protection policy. So in your child protection policy, you'll have to make a statement about, inclusivity. When there are children who are at high risk, how are you going to treat them? What precautions are you going to take for those children or at high risk? High risk children are differently abled children, HIV infected, affected children, then children of culturally oppressed communities, then children who live on the streets, children in child labor, etc. Girl children from certain minority communities, all those come under children at high risk. So what kind of protective systems do you have in your organization? Very important for you to see that and formulate your child protection policy. Okay, then yeah. So what I'll do is create strong foundations. Okay, reduce poverty, improve. Yeah, father, just 2 points about online safety of children. You all know that we have to protect our children from bad sites on the internet, gaming. But what is important is to make them understand their the devices, yeah, and social media. These two things you have to dialogue with our children of the Children's Parliament and children in your projects, basically. Yeah, online safety of children. What is this device for? Is this device for me or am I for the device? The same thing. Is the temple, church, mosque for me to develop as a human being, or is it the other way around? Now, this is something you have to make children think. But before that, we as adults have to stop our over dependence on our, telephones and computers and so on. This cannot take precedence over human contact. I know we are in COVID times, it's difficult, but I've seen an obsession now with this webinar thing, constantly being on the computer or on the, smartphone. And it's unfortunate because I feel very bad for children who don't have these facilities. What's going to happen to them, to their education? So can we slow down a bit? Can we calm down and say, okay, wherever necessary, we'll use technology, but wherever not necessary, let's relax, reflect. Yeah. So what are we going to tell our children? Use these systems, phones, computers, social media very mindfully, okay? And don't get into trouble. I was talking to the cyber cell officer the other day, and he told me in the month of February, there were 17 cases where children were involved in cyber crime. Means they had become victims. 17 children had become victims, and they had found two cases where these boys perpetrators, they had not time, all because of this online transaction with different groups and so on. And I know one project in Bombay where they get hate messages in the morning on WhatsApp. Okay, so inciting children towards violence and crime is happening. So please make them understand the use of the device empowerment benefit and not the other way around. And of course, we can go into detail maybe a little bit next time into all these issues of gaming, intoxication with gaming, and some of these sites which need to be banned and so on. Yeah, as you know, trafficking is very high because of the internet facilities. So please warn your children, and please you yourself learn to control yourself when it comes to Facebook, Twitter, Hangouts, so on and so forth. Well, I really appreciate this. Thank you, Father Justice, for this opportunity, and all of y'all for this wonderful listening to me patiently. And again, it's my humble request that you take all this in its right context. I know that y'all are better equipped and more knowledgeable, so I like to learn from y'all as well. Thank you. Thank you, Father Justice.